Taeyang stood in the grand chamber of the Galactic Council and felt small. He always felt small here. The ceiling stretched up into darkness, and the seats where the council members sat rose like towers around him. 47 years ago, humanity had joined this council with hope in their hearts. 47 years later, Taeyang came here to beg for justice and knew he would leave with nothing. The hologram floated in the center of the chamber. It showed the wreckage of the horizon's edge, Captain Nari's ship, pieces of metal twisted in space, bodies frozen in the void. 89 people had died there, 89 humans who would never go home. The evidence is clear, Taeyang said. His voice echoed in the massive room. The attacking ships bore Vrelian markings. Their weapons signatures match Vrelian military-grade plasma cannons. The horizon's edge was in designated trade lanes, carrying medical supplies to the colony on Kepler 442b. This was not an accident. This was murder. The council members looked down at him. Some seemed bored. Others whispered to each other. The Vrelian representative, a creature with 4 arms and scales like blue metal, made a sound that might have been laughter. Ambassador Taeyang, the council speaker said. Her species had no name humans could pronounce, so they called her people the Tall Ones. She was 3 times his height, with skin like polished stone. We have reviewed your evidence. The attack occurred in disputed space. The council has no authority there. Disputed space? Taeyang's hands shook. He gripped the podium to steady himself. That trade lane has been registered with the council for 20 years. Ships from 6 different species use it every day. It's only disputed when humans die there. The Tall One's face showed nothing. The Vrelian Consortium has filed a territorial claim. Until this claim is resolved, the Council cannot intervene in incidents within that region. Taeyang looked at the Vrelian representative. The creature met his eyes and smiled. It was a predator's smile. How long will this claim take to resolve? Taeyang asked, though he already knew the answer. Such matters can take decades, the speaker said. Perhaps centuries. The council must be thorough. In his ear, Taeyang heard Juan's voice through the communicator. Juan was his aide, a young man who still believed the system could work. Sir, I'm pulling up the records. The Vrelian claim was filed 3 days ago. 3 days after the attack. Taeyang closed his eyes. Of course it was. They killed humans, then made it legal. This is the 43rd human ship lost in so-called disputed space this year alone, Taeyang said. How many more must die before the council acts? The speaker tilted her head. Ambassador, humanity chose to join the council. You agreed to abide by our laws and procedures. If these procedures are too slow for your liking, perhaps your species should reconsider its membership. It was a threat. Leave the council, and humanity would be completely alone. No trade agreements. No protection. No access to the jump gates that made travel between stars possible. Earth would be cut off, left to die slowly while the galaxy forgot they existed. Taeyang bowed his head. Thank you for your time, honored council. He walked out of the chamber. His footsteps echoed on the crystal floor. Behind him, the council moved on to other business. They had already forgotten about the horizon's edge. They had already forgotten about the 89 dead. Juan met him in the corridor outside. The young man's face was pale. Sir, I've been going through the records. Do you want to know how many human vessels we've lost since joining the council? Tell me, Taeyang said. 2,447 ships. That's just the ones we know about. Some colonies stopped reporting years ago. We don't know if they're even alive anymore. Taeyang stopped walking. The number hit him like a physical blow. 2,000. And it's not just ships, Juan continued. His voice shook. Every time we make progress in technology, something happens. Remember the research station on Titan? The one developing new fusion drives? It exploded. 40 scientists dead. The council investigators said it was an accident. But I found the original reports, sir. Before they were classified. The station was sabotaged. Show me, Taeyang said. They went to Huan's office. It was small, buried deep in the human section of the station. All human spaces on the council station were small and buried deep. They had learned their place. Huan pulled up files on his screen. Incident reports, death certificates, accident investigations. The pattern was clear once you knew to look for it. Every time humanity achieved something, every time they came close to matching council technology, disaster struck. A colony developed a new food synthesis process that could feed millions. Pirates destroyed the facility. The council peacekeepers arrived too late. Human scientists created a new medical scanner that could detect diseases years before symptoms appeared. The laboratory burned down. Electrical fire, the investigators said. All the research was lost. A human mining operation found deposits of rare elements that could revolutionize ship construction. The mining station was attacked by unknown raiders. No survivors. No investigation. They're keeping us down, Huan whispered. All of them. It's not just the Vrelians. The whole council wants us weak. Taeyang sat down heavily. He had suspected this for years, but seeing the evidence laid out before him made it real. Humanity wasn't just unlucky. They were being hunted, slowly, carefully, systematically destroyed. Why? Huan asked. Why do they hate us so much? They don't hate us, Taeyang said quietly. We're just useful. Someone has to do the dangerous work. Someone has to mine the asteroids and terraform the dead worlds and fly through the regions where pirates hide. Better us than them. We should fight back, Huan said. His hands curled into fists. With what? Taeyang gestured at the screen. Every time we build something that could help us fight, it gets destroyed. We have no weapons that can match theirs. No ships that can outrun theirs. We're 47 years behind them in technology, and they make sure we stay that way. Huan was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, What are we going to do? Taeyang looked at the faces on the screen. The dead. The missing. The forgotten. 2,447 ships. Hundreds of thousands of people. Maybe more. All gone. And the council didn't care. I'm going back to Earth, Taeyang said. And I'm going to tell them the truth. The council will never protect us. The council will never give us justice. If humanity wants to survive, we have to do it ourselves. He stood up and looked out the window. The stars gleamed cold and distant. Somewhere out there, the wreckage of the horizon's edge drifted in the dark. Captain Nari and her crew would never see Earth again. They would never see justice. But Taeyang made a promise to their memory. Things would change. Somehow, someday, humanity would be strong enough to protect itself. They would remember every ship lost, every life taken, every time the council turned away and let humans die. They would remember. And when the time came, the galaxy would learn that humanity's patience had limits. That day was still far off, but it was coming. Director Mireille had not slept in 3 days. Her office on Earth was filled with screens, each one showing names. So many names. The dead. The missing. The forgotten. She was making a list, and the list kept growing. Coffee, she said to no one in particular. Her assistant had left hours ago. Everyone had gone home. But Mireille stayed, adding name after name to the report that would change everything. The door opened. Dr. Kwan walked in, carrying 2 cups of coffee. He was old, with white hair and tired eyes. He had been a soldier once, then a historian. Now he helped Mireille count the dead. You need to rest, Kwan said, handing her a cup. I need to finish this, Mireille replied. She took the coffee anyway. It was bitter and strong. The Earth Council meets in 6 hours. They need to see the truth. Kwan sat down and looked at the screens. How many now? 1,400,000 confirmed dead, Mireille said. Her voice was flat, empty. She had cried earlier, but now there were no tears left. 67 colonies abandoned. 412 research stations destroyed. 2,447 ships lost. And that's just what we can prove, Quan added. He pulled up his own files. I've been looking at the patterns. Every single time we came close to a breakthrough, something went wrong. The Titan fusion station, the medical scanner on Europa, the new hull design at the Mars shipyards. All destroyed within weeks of completion. Accidents, Mireille said bitterly. That's what the Council calls them. The Council is lying, Quan said. And they've been lying for 47 years. The door opened again. A woman walked in, moving slowly, like someone who had been hurt and never fully healed. Her name was Yuna. She had survived the destruction of New Sapporo Colony. Director Mireille, Yuna said softly. You wanted to see me? Thank you for coming, Mireille said. She stood and offered Yuna a chair. I need you to tell your story one more time. For the record, Yuna sat down. Her hands shook slightly as she folded them in her lap. We had something special on New Sapporo, she began. A new crop. We modified Earth wheat to grow in high radiation environments. It would have changed everything. Colonies could be built on worlds we thought were too dangerous. What happened? Mireille asked, though she already knew. She needed Yuna to say it, to make it real. The Thalasian Collective came, Yuna said. Her voice was distant, remembering. Their ships landed at our agricultural center. They said they were conducting an inspection. We let them in because they were council members. We trusted them. She paused. Quan handed her water. She drank, then continued. They took everything. All our research. All our samples. They copied our data and destroyed our backups. When we protested, they laughed. They said humans couldn't possibly have developed such advanced biology. They said we must have stolen it from someone else. The round. Older seaside. Older seaside. They said we must have stolen it from someone else. And the council? Mireille asked. We filed a complaint. The council said there was no evidence. The Thalasians claimed they had developed the crop independently. 6 months later, they started selling it across the galaxy. Our colony got nothing. We had to abandon New Sapporo because we couldn't feed ourselves anymore. Mireille added Yuna's testimony to the growing file. It was the same story, over and over. Humans created something valuable. Other species took it. The council did nothing. A new person arrived. His name was Yoon, a freelance pilot who hauled cargo between human colonies. He looked nervous, like he didn't want to be there. You said you saw something, Mireille said. A transport ship. Yoon nodded. The Morning Star. I was 3 light hours away when it happened. I saw the whole thing on my sensors. Claude, tell me, Mireille said. The Morning Star was carrying 300 colonists to New Beijing. Families, mostly. Children. Yoon's jaw tightened. Vrelian warships came out of nowhere. The Morning Star didn't even have weapons. They tried to run, but the Vrelians were faster. He pulled up a recording on his datapad. Mireille watched as the transport ship was torn apart by plasma fire. The ship broke into pieces. Escape pods launched. Small, bright dots against the dark. There were survivors, Yoon said. I counted 83 escape pods. The Vrelians ignored them. They just left. I called for help. Sent the coordinates to Council peacekeepers. What happened? Quan asked. The peacekeepers arrived 6 hours later. I was still there, trying to pick up survivors. The peacekeepers scanned the area and said they found no life signs. But I had watched those pods launch. I knew people were alive in them. What are you saying? Mireille asked, though she knew. The peacekeepers destroyed the pods, Yoon said flatly. They called it debris cleanup. I watched them do it. 300 people on the ship, 83 escape pods, and the official report says no survivors. They killed the witnesses. Mireille added this to her file. The list grew longer. More people came throughout the night. Each one had a story. Each story was the same. Humans died. and the council didn't care. Or worse, the council helped kill them. As dawn broke over Earth, Mireille finished her report. She sent it to every government on Earth, to every human colony in space, to every ship that flew under Earth's flag. The response was immediate. Within hours, the Earth Council convened an emergency session. Representatives from every nation gathered in Geneva. Mireille presented her findings. The room was silent as she spoke. The numbers were too big to comprehend. 1,400,000 dead. 67 colonies lost. 47 years of systematic destruction. When she finished, the president of the Earth Council stood. Her name was Bora. She had been a colony engineer before entering politics. She had built homes on distant worlds. Now she would make a decision that would change humanity's future. "We have been patient," Bora said. Her voice carried across the chamber. "We joined the Galactic Council with open hands and open hearts. We believed in cooperation, in peace, in justice. For 47 years, we have endured. We have asked for help. We have begged for protection. We have died quietly, hoping that tomorrow would be better." She paused. The chamber waited. "Tomorrow will not be better," Bora said. "Not unless we make it better ourselves." The council has made their position clear. They do not see us as equals. They see us as tools to be used and discarded. As long as we remain weak, we will remain victims. Bora looked around the room, meeting the eyes of every representative. "I propose we recall every human from council space, every ship, every colony, every person. We bring them home, all of them. We stop doing the council's work. We stop dying for their convenience. And we start building our own future." The vote was unanimous. Within hours, the message went out across every human communication channel. A simple order that would echo across the stars. "Come home. All of you." Now, in stations and colonies across the galaxy, humans began to pack. They abandoned the dangerous mining operations. They left the half-terraformed worlds. They pulled out of every task the Council had given them. The galaxy was about to learn something important. For 47 years, humanity had been patient. They had endured abuse and injustice and death. But patience was not weakness. Patience was preparation, and humanity's patience was running out. The Vrelian commander watched the displays with satisfaction. All across the galaxy, human ships were fleeing. They abandoned their posts, their colonies, their responsibilities. They were running home like frightened children. "Pathetic," the commander hissed to his officers. 47 years, and they finally learned their place. They are running back to their little world to hide. His fleet was already moving toward the Sol system. 200 ships, the pride of the Vrelian consortium. They would finish what they had started years ago. They would crush Earth, claim its resources, and the Council would thank them for removing the human problem. What the Vrelian commander didn't know was that in the dark spaces beyond Neptune, something waited. Admiral Doyun stood on the bridge of the battleship Indomitable and smiled. He was a lean man with scars on his hands from years of building things in secret. For 30 years, he had overseen the greatest project in human history. Now, finally, it was time to reveal it. "Status report," he said quietly. "All ships are in position, Admiral," his second officer replied. 2,000 vessels ready and waiting. The Vrelian fleet will enter the trap in approximately 4 hours. 2,000 ships. Built in secret over 3 decades. Hidden in the cold darkness of the Oort cloud, where no council sensors could find them. Every scrap of stolen technology, every piece of salvaged equipment, every lesson learned from 47 years of abuse, had gone into building this fleet. Minister Junho's face appeared on the communications screen. He was on Earth, coordinating the defense. "Admiral, the last civilian transports have cleared the system. All human ships are accounted for." "Good," Doyun said. "How many came home?" "Approximately 40 million people from across the galaxy," Junho replied. "Every colony, every station, every outpost. They're all here now." 40 million humans, all returning to Earth in a matter of weeks. The Council had noticed. Of course. They thought it was a retreat. A surrender. They were wrong. In a laboratory beneath the surface of Mars, Inho checked his calculations one final time. He was a scientist who had spent 20 years reverse engineering alien technology. The Council thought their weapons were superior because they used exotic particles and complex field generators. They thought human technology was primitive. They had never understood that primitive didn't mean ineffective. The nuclear-pumped lasers are ready, Inho reported to Do-Yun. Every ship is equipped. They'll cut through Council shields like paper. And the kinetic kill vehicles? Do-Yun asked. 2,000 missiles per ship, Inho said with satisfaction, launched at near light speed. No shields can stop them. Basic physics, Admiral. Mass times velocity equals a very bad day for whoever gets hit. Number 4. 2343. With 334. Number 4. The Council species had forgotten the fundamental truth about humans. They might have joined the space age late, but they had 10,000 years of war in their history. They knew how to kill. They just needed the right tools. On a hidden moon of Saturn, Hagen finished her last transmission from Council space. She had been a spy for 15 years, working deep inside Council intelligence. They had never suspected the quiet human woman who cleaned their offices and filed their reports. The Vrelian fleet is commanded by Admiral Kresh, she reported. He's arrogant and overconfident. He thinks this will be an easy victory. His ships will come in tight formation because he wants to make an impressive show for Council observers. Perfect, Do-Yun said. Arrogance makes for good targets. The pieces were all in place. 30 years of planning. 30 years of building in secret. 30 years of letting the Council think humans were weak and beaten. The truth was different. Humans had been learning, studying, preparing. They had watched how Council ships fought, and they had designed weapons to counter every tactic. They had stolen gravity, drive technology, and improved it. They had taken plasma cannons and made them more efficient. They had combined Council technology with human innovation and created something the galaxy had never seen. Admiral, the sensor officer called out. The Vrelian fleet is entering the system. 200 ships. Just as intelligence predicted. Do-Yun stood and straightened his uniform. Send the message to all ships. Silent running until my command. Let them get close. Across the outer solar system, 2,000 human warships went dark. No engines. No lights. No signals. They drifted like ghosts in the void. Invisible against the black of space, the Vrelian fleet moved toward Earth, confident and loud. They broadcast their approach, wanting the humans to know they were coming. They wanted fear. Admiral Kresh stood on his command ship and laughed. Look at them cower. There are no defenses. No ships. They know they cannot fight us, so they hide on their planet like insects. His tactical officer wasn't so sure. Commander, the scans show unusual readings in the outer system. Multiple mass signatures. Asteroids, Kresh said dismissively. This system is full of rocks. Ignore them. The Vrelian fleet pushed deeper into the Sol system, passing Neptune, then Uranus. Still no resistance. Still no human ships. They really are cowards, Kresh said. This will be easier than I thought. On the Indomitable, Do-Yun watched the Vrelians walk into his trap. They were past the point of no return now. Behind them, human ships moved to block their escape. Ahead of them, more ships waited. The Vrelians were surrounded. Admiral, they're approaching the firing line, the weapons officer said. Do-Yun thought about the 2,447 ships humanity had lost. He thought about the 1,400,000 dead. He thought about 47 years of suffering. Send them a message, Do-Yun said. Open channel. I want everyone to hear this. The communications officer nodded. Channel open, sir. Do-Yun's voice went out across every frequency. The Vrelian fleet heard it. The Council observers heard it. Earth heard it. Vrelian fleet, this is Admiral Do-Yun of Earth Defense. You have entered our system with hostile intent. You have attacked our ships. You have killed our people. For 47 years, we asked for peace. We begged for justice. We showed restraint. You mistook that restraint for weakness." He paused. On the tactical display, he could see the Vrelian ships slowing, confused by the transmission. "Today, you learn the difference between patience and weakness. This is your only warning. Leave now, or we will show you why Earth has 10,000 years of war in its history." Kresh's response came immediately, full of rage and contempt. "You dare threaten us? You are nothing. Your pathetic world will burn, and the Council will celebrate." The Vrelian fleet opened fire on Earth's moon, destroying an old mining station to make their point. Do-Yun nodded slowly. "So be it. All ships, power up. Let them see what they're facing." Across the solar system, 2,000 human warships came to life. Their engines burned bright. Their weapons charged. Their shields activated. The Vrelians suddenly realized they were surrounded by a fleet that shouldn't exist. Kresh's voice came over the channel, no longer confident. "What is this? Where did these ships come from?" "We built them while you thought we were weak," Do-Yun replied. "We learned while you thought we were stupid. We prepared while you thought we were broken. You had 47 years to leave us alone. Your time is up. Fire at will," Admiral Do-Yun commanded, and the darkness of space lit up with human fury. The first salvo from the human fleet hit the Vrelian ships like a hammer. Captain Suji led her fighter wing through the chaos, her hands steady on the controls. She had trained for this moment her entire life. Her grandmother had died on a human colony ship, killed by Vrelian raiders. Her father had been a pilot too, lost in disputed space. Now, it was her turn. "Wing formation Delta," she called to her pilots. "Target their shield generators. Short bursts, then move. Don't let them track you." The fighters moved like a swarm of angry insects, fast and unpredictable. The Vrelians tried to hit them with their plasma cannons. But the human ships were too quick. They had learned from Earth's atmospheric fighters, from decades of combat in gravity wells. They knew how to dodge. Suji's targeting system locked onto a Vrelian cruiser. She fired. The nuclear-pumped laser cut through space, invisible until it hit the ship's shields. The shields flared bright, then failed. A second fighter hit the same spot with kinetic missiles. The cruiser's hull ripped open like paper. "One down," Suji reported. Moving to next target, Admiral Kresh watched his fleet fall apart and couldn't believe what he was seeing. Human ships moved in ways Council vessels couldn't match. They didn't fight in neat formations. They swarmed and adapted and coordinated with an efficiency that seemed impossible. "Return fire," Kresh screamed. "Destroy them." But the Vrelian gunners couldn't get a lock. Every time they aimed, the human ships moved. They split apart, regrouped, attacked from new angles. It was like fighting smoke. On the Indomitable, Admiral Do-Yun watched the battle with cold satisfaction. "Deploy the kinetic swarms. Target their capital ships. From every human battleship, thousands of small missiles launched. They were simple devices, just metal rods, with basic guidance systems and engines that could push them to near light speed." The Council had laughed at such primitive weapons. They stopped laughing when the missiles started hitting. At that speed, mass didn't need explosives. Physics did the work. The missiles punched through Vrelian shields and hulls like bullets through cloth. Ships that had survived for decades in Council service exploded in seconds. "Admiral, the enemy fleet is breaking formation," the tactical officer reported. "They're trying to scatter." "Don't let them," Do-Yun said calmly. "All ships. Execute formation Omega. Close the net." The human fleet moved with perfect coordination. Ships that had been scattered across the solar system came together, blocking every escape route. The Vrelians were trapped in a sphere of human warships. Kresh realized he was going to die. His fleet of 200 ships, the pride of the Vrelian consortium, was being destroyed by humans. Humans? The weak species that cleaned council stations and hauled garbage. How was this possible? He tried one last desperate move. "All ships, concentrate fire on a single point. Break through and run. The Vrelian fleet focused their weapons on a section of the human formation. Plasma fire and missiles filled space. 3 human ships took damage. 1 was destroyed, its crew of 47 giving their lives to hold the line. But the line held. More human ships moved to fill the gap. The Vrelians couldn't break through. 17 minutes, Doyun noted, checking the battle timer. Their fleet is nearly destroyed. End this. The final barrage was overwhelming. Every human ship fired at once. The remaining Vrelian vessels were torn apart in seconds. Where 200 ships had been, only debris remained. Admiral Kresh's last transmission was a scream of rage and disbelief, cut short as his command ship exploded. The battle was over. The human fleet hung in space, weapons still charged, ready for any other threat. But none came. The Vrelians were gone. Casualties? Doyun asked. 1 ship destroyed, 4 damaged. Total losses: 47 crew members. Medical teams are recovering wounded from the damaged ships. 47 dead. Doyun felt each loss like a weight on his shoulders. But he also knew that without this fight, millions more would have died. The killing had to stop. And sometimes, the only way to stop a bully was to hit back hard enough that they never bothered you again. Broadcast the battle footage on all council channels, Doyun ordered. Make sure everyone sees this. No edits, no commentary. Just the raw footage. Across the galaxy, council species watched in shock as the battle played out. Humans, the weak species they had abused for 47 years, had just destroyed the Vrelian fleet in 17 minutes. On Earth, Taeyang stood before cameras and delivered humanity's message to the Galactic Council. His face was hard, his voice steady. For 47 years, we asked for justice, Taeyang said. We begged for protection. We followed your laws. We died quietly when your laws failed us. We filed complaints that you ignored. We presented evidence that you dismissed. We trusted the council to be fair. He paused, letting the words sink in. You taught us that fairness is a lie. You taught us that the only law in this galaxy is strength. You taught us that the strong do what they want, and the weak suffer. Very well. We have learned your lesson. Behind him, footage of the battle played. Vrelian ships exploding. Human fighters moving like schools of fish. The perfect coordination of a fleet that shouldn't exist. We are no longer asking for justice, Taeyang continued. We are no longer begging for protection. Humanity claims the right to defend itself. Any ship, any fleet, any species that threatens human life will face the same fate as the Vrelians. You wanted us to learn strength? You wanted us to understand power? Congratulations. We have. His eyes were cold as he looked into the camera. We sought peace. You gave us war. You killed our people and called it acceptable losses. You stole our research and called it your own. You destroyed our ships and called it accidents. For 47 years, you pushed us down every time we tried to stand. You thought we would break. Taeyang leaned forward. We didn't break. We bent. We learned. We remembered every loss, every theft, every murder. We counted our dead. 1,400,000 people. We will never forget them. And we will never let it happen again. This is our only warning, Taeyang finished. Leave humanity alone. Leave our ships alone. Leave our colonies alone. Or the next fleet that threatens us will join the Vrelians in death. We're done being victims. We're done being prey. Earth has 10,000 years of war in its history. The next species that attacks us will learn why our planet is still standing after all those years. The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, council chambers fell into chaos. Some species called for immediate war against humanity. Others urged caution. The footage of the battle played again and again. 17 minutes. That's all it took for humans to destroy 200 Vrelian warships. On Earth, Mireille stood next to General Minho, watching the orbital defenses. They expected retaliation. They were ready for it. But the retaliation never came. Instead, one by one, Council species began withdrawing from human territories. Ships that had ignored human distress calls for decades suddenly changed course when they saw human vessels. The message was clear. Humanity was no longer weak. Humanity was no longer safe to hunt. The galaxy had learned a new truth. Humans were patient. But their patience had limits, and when those limits were reached, humanity was terrifying. 3 months after the battle, Taeyang returned to the Galactic Council station, but this time, he didn't come alone. Admiral Doyen's battle group waited in orbit, their weapons ready, their message clear. Humanity was done asking for permission. The council chamber looked the same as always, the same high ceiling, the same towering seats, the same council members looking down at whoever stood in the center. But something had changed. The council members didn't look bored anymore. They looked nervous. Ambassador Taeyang, the speaker said. Her voice was carefully neutral. The Council welcomes Earth's return to negotiations. We have prepared a proposal for renewed cooperation between humanity and the Council species. Let me hear it, Taeyang said. He stood in the same spot where he had begged for justice 3 months ago. He remembered how small he had felt. He didn't feel small anymore. The speaker outlined the Council's offer. Minor trade concessions, a small increase in human representation, a promise to investigate future attacks on human vessels more thoroughly. It was an insult disguised as generosity. They were offering crumbs and expecting gratitude. Taeyang let the speaker finish. Then he smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. No, he said simply. The council members stirred. The speaker's face showed confusion. I'm sorry? I said no, Taeyang repeated. Those are not negotiations. Those are not acceptable terms. Let me explain how this works now. He pulled up a holographic display. It showed a long list of demands. The council members leaned forward to read. 1.4 trillion credits in reparations. Taeyang read aloud. Payment for 47 years of losses. Every ship destroyed. Every colony abandoned. Every life taken. You will pay for all of it. Impossible, the Vrelian representative sputtered. A new one, since Admiral Kresh was dead. That amount would bankrupt entire civilizations. Then you shouldn't have killed so many of us, Taeyang said coldly. Second, humanity gets full access to all council technology and trade routes. No restrictions, no delays, no bureaucracy. You cannot simply demand, the speaker began. Third, Taeyang continued, ignoring her. Earth receives senior council status. We vote on all major decisions. Our voice carries equal weight. No more treating us as second-class members. The chamber erupted in protests. Council members shouted over each other. This was outrageous. This was unacceptable. Humans couldn't dictate terms to the council. Taeyang waited for the noise to die down. Then he continued. Fourth, everyone responsible for attacks on human ships and colonies will be prosecuted. We have names. We have evidence. We will have justice. And if we refuse these demands, the speaker asked, then we go to war, Taeyang said simply. And we both know how that ends. We turned the Vrelian fleet into scrap in 17 minutes. How long do you think the rest of you would last? The threat hung in the air like smoke. The council members looked at each other. They had all seen the battle footage. They knew what human ships could do. From Earth, Chancellor Bora's voice came over the communication channel. She had been elected to lead Earth's government after the battle. Her face appeared on the chamber's main display. Let me be clear, Bora said. These are not negotiations. This is the price of your mistakes. For 47 years, you used humanity. You let us die. You stole from us. You thought we would always be weak. You were wrong. She gestured, and more footage played. Human colony ships landing on new worlds. Human warships patrolling trade routes. Human research stations. No longer hiding, working openly on advanced technology. We don't need the council anymore, Bora said. We have our own ships. our own weapons, our own technology. We can protect ourselves. We can build our own trade networks. We can do fine alone." She leaned forward, her eyes hard. "But we're offering you a choice. Pay the price for what you've done. Treat us as equals, and we can move forward together. Or refuse, and explain to your populations why you're at war with a species that destroyed your most powerful fleet in 17 minutes. The council went into emergency session. Taeyang waited outside with Doyun. They could hear the shouting through the walls. "Think they'll accept?" Doyun asked. "They don't have a choice," Taeyang said. "Pride is expensive. They can't afford it." After 6 hours, the council called Taeyang back. The speaker looked like she had aged 10 years. "The council accepts Earth's terms," she said quietly. "All of them," Taeyang nodded. He felt no joy in the victory. Too many people had died to reach this point. But at least their deaths would mean something now. Within weeks, the changes began. Human ships received clearance to patrol former Vrelian territories. Captain Nari, promoted after surviving an attack years ago, led the first patrol fleet. She flew through space that had once been dangerous for humans and felt a fierce satisfaction. No one would hunt humans here again. Huan, Taeyang's former aide, became Earth's chief trade negotiator. Alien diplomats who had once sneered at humans now offered respectful bows. They called him honored negotiator and made fair deals. Some even seemed genuinely apologetic. "It's amazing what a fleet of warships does for politeness," Huan remarked to Taeyang. "It shouldn't have taken this." Taeyang replied, "We asked nicely for 47 years. But they only listened when we stopped asking," Huan said. New human colonies were established on worlds the council had said were too dangerous. But now, humans had the technology and the protection to make them safe. Families who had lost homes to council species now had new homes, better homes. On the anniversary of the battle, Earth built a monument. It stood in Geneva, where the Earth Council had made the decision to recall humanity from council space. The monument was simple. A black stone wall with names carved into it. 1,400,000 names. The dead who would never see this new future. At the base of the wall, words were carved. They believed our kindness was weakness. They mistook our patience for fear. They forgot that the most dangerous humans are not those who seek war, but those who exhaust every alternative first. No species forgot the day humanity's patience ran out. Let none forget why it happened. Taeyang stood before the monument, reading the names. He found Captain Nari's crew from the horizon's edge. The attack that had started this chain of events. He touched their names gently. "We remembered," he whispered. "We made them pay. You didn't die for nothing." Above Earth, Admiral Doyun's fleet maintained their patrols. The ships were visible from the surface, bright points of light moving across the sky. Children pointed at them and felt safe. Parents told stories about the battle, about the day humanity stopped being victims. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humanity didn't want to rule. They didn't want to conquer. They just wanted to be left alone. But if you pushed them, if you hurt them, if you killed their people, they would push back with everything they had. Peace had returned to human space. But it was a different kind of peace. Not the peace of submission, but the peace of strength. Not the peace of hoping others would protect you, but the peace of protecting yourself. In the council chambers, new agreements were signed. Humans and aliens worked together on projects as equals. Trade flourished. Research advanced. The galaxy moved forward. But every species remembered the footage of that battle. They remembered human ships moving like hunting packs. They remembered Vrelian vessels exploding. They remembered 17 minutes. And they remembered the warning. Leave humanity alone, or learn why Earth survived 10,000 years of war. No species forgot the day humanity's patience ran out. And that was exactly how humanity wanted it.